Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 29 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So if you feel like you could use a bit of a nutrition reset, or you have a few pounds you think you could lose, or maybe you just know that you've been slacking on the eating front, you probably have thought of doing some kind of clean eating regimen, fast, or cleanse. And last week I tried the Prolon fast mimicking diet, and I lived to tell about it. And so many of you have asked what it was like while I was on it, so I decided to dedicate a podcast episode to that experience in case you're looking to try something new, you're curious, or you even want to try Prolon yourself. So why did I decide to do Prolon or even something like this? So about 10 years ago, I went on a 7-week trip to Europe. I can't believe it was that long ago, but it was. And of course, it was amazing. But several weeks into that trip, after immersing myself in the food and the beverages of the region, one day I remember I ate a bag of chips. We were in Spain. And woke up the next morning with swollen lips. I seriously looked like a duck, and it was just the beginning of months of daily hives. And I thought maybe it was one food group or another. So, I would eliminate one thing and then another thing, right? Alcohol. Maybe it was dairy. Maybe it was gluten. It didn't work. And then I came upon the Clean program by Dr. Alejandro Younger, and I embarked on the 21-day elimination diet. And after I did that, my hives were all gone. And this is when I began to seriously comprehend the importance of cleaning up my diet as a way to combat these symptoms. And I've always thought of myself as allergy-free, but there was this one thing that I reacted to that I couldn't really find an answer to until a few years ago. So growing up, my dad had a quote-unquote reaction to fried food. So my family and I would avoid eating fried foods. And in Chinese, fried foods are described as heaty or hot, literally almost like hot air. And so there were cooling foods, there were hot foods, and fried foods are hot. And I would also react to them myself. When I would eat something like, some chips, I would get like this tiny sore on my tongue, almost imperceptible, but I would feel it. Something would hurt, and it would hurt for a few days, and then it would go away. And because I just wasn't around a lot of fried food, it didn't happen often, so I'd notice when it did happen. And I remember I even went to an allergist at one point as an adult and tried to describe it to them or him, but he didn't understand it. He gave me, a skin prick test of common allergens. And when the results came back, nothing was positive. So I kind of was like, I have no idea what this thing is. I just know it because I feel it. And it wasn't until I started seeing a functional medicine doctor a few years ago that I started understanding what it was. So again, I asked them about the same thing. I'm like, what is this thing? I have this thing. When I eat fried foods, this thing happens. And I remember one of the doctors in the practice, she just kind of looked at me very quizzically and just said very matter-of-factly, well, fried foods are highly inflammatory, and potato chips have sharp ridges and edges, and they probably cut your tongue, and that's why you have a small sore. And so inflammation was the aha. It was that key link here. And I started realizing that my hives were an inflammatory response, not necessarily maybe to one thing, but maybe to a host of things, a body and a diet that's gone a little bit off course. But just to make sure, I took a food test and I saw that so many things were coming back as me being allergic to them. And they were all foods that I commonly ate. Essentially, it was the entire, list of all the things I've eaten in the last few days and week. And what we realized was that this was leaky gut. And that's what the likely thought was there. And so the idea is that what is leaky gut caused by? It's caused by a result of things like stress, antibiotics, lack of sleep. As you can tell, it's probably fairly common. And probably many other things in which I was actively participating and I could actually check off the list. And I remember during that time, I was just coming back from burnout. And I had gotten pretty sick for several months. So this was kind of this recovery period. So I could say, yes, I did have a lot of stress. Yes, I wasn't sleeping a lot. Yes, I took antibiotics because I got really sick from the stress and not sleeping so much and all of those things. So I embarked on a 2-week clean eating program and elimination diet, and I slowly began to add the foods back in one at a time, which would show me if I was allergic to them or not. And I wasn't. Nothing came back. So again, this is when I realized, and what the doctors then confirmed, which is that I wasn't allergic to just one thing. In my mind, I was like, you know what, that would be easier, because ever since I had done that first 21-day program, every 6 months or so, I would kind of do it again. I would do 21 days, I'd clean up my eating, I would do all that stuff. And it's kind of difficult. It's not that fun all the time. I'd love to just be able to know if it was just this one thing and maybe I avoid it and then, all goes well. But what I realized, it isn't just one thing. And what happens is that, at least for me, over the course of months or years, my body would just start to veer a little bit off the healthy path. And you know how when it starts off and you veer off a little bit, over time it adds up. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I can't handle alcohol very well. So I still drink, but not a ton. But even if I start to drink a little bit here and there, that still adds up in my body. Same with dairy. I'm lactose intolerant. I love cheese. I love ice cream. I do eat yogurt. So I also have to realize too that there are ways in which my body can get out of balance over time. But what would help was if I came back to a really healthy eating protocol. If I didn't do it, I would have what you have likely already heard me talk about, which were the hives or, other kind of symptoms and just not feeling overall really good. And so as I realized this, I've realized that, I need to do probably some kind of healthy eating regimen every 6 months or so just to keep the hives at bay and to reset my body. So it's been over a year though. I knew this, but it's been over a year. Things get busy since I completed any type of super clean eating regimen. And a month or so ago, I started getting hives again. I thought maybe it was the heat coming on in our new house. Maybe it's the ducks. Is it their mold? All those things. But I also knew that I was due for some kind of diet cleanup. So when I heard about Prolon, and then I saw it at my doctor's office, and then I heard about the book by Walter Longo, I started thinking, okay, I want to do something. I'm willing to give this one a go. It's only 5 days. It's only 5 days, right? I talked to my doctor about it as I was going through the process. After I already decided to do it, as I was already in it, and I realized that he was raving about these fasting protocols, and he had also been completing these monthly cycles of Prolon. And so here's what I learned about Prolon and what it felt like to go through the 5-day fast mimicking diet if you are curious about what this is all about. So Prolon was created by Walter Longo. He's a PhD, a doctor, and he's the director of the Longevity Institute at USC. And he based this plan off of 20 years of research and development with partners at the NIH, which is the National Institutes of Health, the Longevity Institute, and the Diabetes and Obesity Research Institute of the University of Southern California. And the idea is you are experiencing the benefits of fasting without completely depriving yourself of food. And it included food, so you get this box that gets shipped out to you. And this box includes smaller boxes within it that have food for you for each day. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5 days. What are the foods? It's mostly soup. So it's like these packets that you mix with water and you heat up and you cook it. And there are different varieties, but there are things like white bean and spinach soup or butternut squash, things like that. There's also olives. There are bars that are made out of nuts and a little bit of, things like cacao nibs, as well as supplements and herbal teas and this, drink that you have during the 5 days. And there's a plan, again, for each day of what to eat and suggestions for, hey, here's what you eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. And you can shift them within the day, but not between the days. And the thing here to note is that the calories go from 1,100 calories, which is not very much, on day 1 to 800 calories between days 2 through 5. And so you begin to feel that drop once you start heading into, days 2 through 5. And so what was my experience like? I will say that it wasn't easy. So I was on a running program or training program during those 5 days. So I eased up on the running a bit, which I would highly recommend because Prolon itself, the program, does not recommend that you participate in any strenuous activity. So I was definitely operating outside of their protocols. I ran about 30 minutes on day 1, a little over 6 miles on day 2. I rested on day 3, and then I ran for about 25 to 30 minutes each on days 4 and 5. And I would not recommend this plan again because I believe that it not only made the fast more difficult because I felt even more hungry, but it also could lead you to pushing yourself and your body farther than necessary and maybe injuring yourself. Maybe you would even faint, things like that. So I would not recommend it. And how were the actual days themselves? So days 1 and 2 were easier because I was just starting out. So I had this excitement of the newer foods and just trying to figure out what was going on. The kids were super into it. They loved preparing my foods for me and, putting out the boxes and just looking at it and being like, okay, you take these supplements with these things. They liked opening up the packets. And I didn't really feel as much of the deprivation on days 1 and 2 because I was still kind of excited and the calories were just a little bit higher. But on day 3 is when I started feeling much lower in energy. I started really missing food. I started feeling hungry, really, really, really hungry. And I was cooking for my family throughout this time period. And I was smelling and looking at their foods with such envy. And I did stick to the plan, but it wasn't easy, especially on day 3. I think that was the hardest day for me. I was feeling my stomach start to growl in the evening. And in that time, what I did was I started reading results of those that had gone through the program before me. And that kept me motivated. So remember, what helps you during these times are things like distractions in terms of eating. Your eating isn't going to take as long because there isn't as much food. And that is a big part of why we eat. We just kind of use it to fill up time. So now you have all this other time. So go do something. I scheduled a few things that for me were healing or fun. I did an infrared sauna. Again, another thing that's not recommended on their plan because they don't want you going into these high heat environments and fainting. But maybe you could go do some light yoga, go for a walk, go call a friend, go read a book, watch a movie, do something that just isn't sitting around wishing you had food. So that's one thing I would really recommend is ahead of time scheduling out a few things that you're really excited about doing that could take your mind off the fact that you're not eating as much. So again, another thing is to really dig into the results and the benefits and why you are doing this. So what are some of the benefits of Prolon? Here are a few. This is based off what they say. And obviously my experience, your experience, someone else's experience could be very different. But this is the science behind it. I would highly recommend that you read the book, The Longevity Diet by Dr. Walter Longo, because he describes a diet that's not Prolon, of which you could participate in and also receive a lot of great health benefits from just eating a little bit differently. Highlights from that diet include less protein, a lot more plants, not eating as much quantity, exercising pretty consistently and vigorously during the week, eating like your ancestors did, and essentially not eating a ton of meat, and if you do eat some protein, mostly fish. But he also has some protocols for age ranges of which, if you were less than 20 years old, you wouldn't really engage in this, but if you were older than 70, you would eat a little bit more protein. And more details can be found in the book, so I would highly recommend that if you're interested in some of this work, to read that book. So the benefits of Prolon, which are some of the benefits overall of just fasting, and there's lots of documentaries out there about the science of fasting, which I will now go and watch because now that I've done it, I'm interested in exactly what's going on. So here are some of the benefits. First one, it promotes cellular renewal. This is what I was really interested in as well. It triggers autophagy, which is the cleanup of the old and worn out cellular components, and promotes rejuvenation. It, secondly, supports your metabolic health. So you'll have healthier levels of metabolic balance because you're transforming your eating habits and your lifestyle. Again, this requires you to maintain this, but this is the first step. And the third benefit is enhancing clarity and performance. These are the higher levels of focus, the mental clarity, and the energy during and after the fast. And I'll talk a little bit about my experience with that. The fourth benefit is fat-focused weight loss. I was really excited about this because I had a bit of abdominal fat that I was always thinking, I'm just a mom that had 2 babies and this is kind of just the way things are. But it would be great if I could lose a little bit of weight in that abdominal area, and especially because weight in the abdominal area, and I'm not saying I am overweight or really concerned about my weight to that degree, but I just knew that weight in the abdominal area, the visceral fat as well, which is the fat around your organs, isn't really healthy fat for you to have. So it's not like it's something I really need to hang on to. So if I could lose some of that fat as well, it would lighten my load and I'd feel a little bit better. So it is fat-focused weight loss. That's one of the benefits. So it's a fast way to lose fat, especially belly fat, especially abdominal fat, especially visceral fat, while also protecting lean body mass. And on average, people would lose about 5 pounds. So as you can see, there are many reasons why someone would want to do Prolon. And I kept reading the results, and as I kept reading more and more, on that day 3, when I was really struggling, I recommitted to it. And I went to bed on day 3, hungry, but just realizing that this is nothing compared to what many people go through who are actually without food, not by choice. And that's what it feels like. So I think there's a sense, too, of realizing that you have to have some perspective around these programs, that this is a choice. And not only that, there was a purpose to this. And I was committed to the results. And I just remember saying that to myself. I'm like, I'm really committed to the results, so I have to see this through. What I want is on the other side of this. And then I woke up on day 4 feeling so much less hungry and way more clear-headed. And that clarity and that energy that was described by people who had gone through the program was finally here. And I wasn't sure when I was on day 3 whether or not I would be able to be running on days 4 and 5, which was kind of part of my plan that week. But I woke up feeling so much better and decided that I'd go for a short 30-minute run, see how it felt. And it felt fine. And of course, I wasn't pushing myself as hard as I could have, and I felt a little bit more tired than I normally do. But this is important. Even though I still mentally wanted more food, I didn't physically feel the need. And the reason why this is important is because changing our eating habits usually means changing something along the lines of noticing that when we eat and how we eat and what we eat isn't really correlated with our hunger, with actual nutrition. 2 important reasons to actually eat. And anyone who has tried to change what they eat and how they eat realize that this is mostly a mental and psychological change and process. Very infrequently is true hunger the reason that we eat. We eat because we're bored. We eat because we're stressed. We eat because we want to connect. We eat because it helps us to feel some type of emotion. And this is also why when you or other people go through a cleanse, a detox, or a diet, they easily rebound back and gain the weight back. And it's because the true mental and psychological change that you're looking for hasn't taken hold. And if you're looking to change your patterns of behavior, you have to desire the change more so than you desire the food. You have to focus on the root cause of why you eat the way you do, what the triggers are, and the history behind how you've developed these eating habits. And what a program like Prolon or any other type of clean eating regimen does is remind us of what is possible, that you can eat less, that you cannot have to reach for food when you're feeling a specific emotion. It also shows you what happens when you do decide to go through a program like this. My results, personally, for me, were my hives went away. And this was a major celebration because I was getting pretty itchy every single day and it was pretty bad. And even though I remember I got the kit a little bit earlier, I was kind of going through this program with other people. And so I wanted to wait, right, for everyone to go through it together. But because I was so itchy, I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to start it right now. I want to start right now. So that's how bad it was for me. But not only did my hives went away, I lost 5.7 pounds. So I did a, in-body scan at my doctor's office about a month ago, and I did one just after I finished Prolon. And it shows you what kind of fat you're losing. So I was able to see that most of that 5.7 pounds of weight loss was actual fat loss, and only about half, or 0.6 pounds, were muscle mass. So would I do it again based on those results? Absolutely yes. Am I going to do it again in a month, which is what they recommend? They recommend that you do it once every month for 3 months, and then as needed afterwards. So I'm still on the fence here about whether I would do it again in a month. Likely not. And the reason for this is because I'm still committed to my running program, and I don't want to lose too much momentum there, because each time you do this, you're not supposed to be exercising that much. And I really now understand why they would recommend that, because your body's kind of going through a big thing here, and you don't want to add extra to it. I know myself, I kind of know what I can handle, and I knew that I would just stop if I wasn't feeling good as I was doing my runs. So I was able to manage it. But at the same time, I knew that I lost a little bit of steam there. So there you go. That is my review of Prolon. The benefits are pretty extraordinary from what I was hoping to get out of it, which was reduced inflammation and weight loss in the abdominal region. It was not easy to do, but many people also do water-only fasts and find it way easier to actually eat some food. I forgot to mention that just the act of preparing the food and making the food is also part of you returning to a focused way of eating. Many times we just order in and inhale our food. We're not even paying attention. But because you're not eating that much, when you do have your food, you really pay attention to it. You really relish it. Each spoonful that you have seems very precious. And I think there's something really special about that almost introspective look, that turning inwards that happened in those 5 days. It really kept me focused on my health. It reminded me that I was doing this for me, that I was doing this to see a benefit, that I was committed to some kind of results. And if nothing else, when you focus on your eating for a certain number of days very consistently, something inside you changes. And maybe you don't eat like this for the rest of your life, and I don't think you're actually supposed to, nor would it be good for you. But it reminds you of what you can do, what the benefits are when you do this, as well as to take care of yourself and to come back to realizing that our health is very important. And so it's all in your perspective of what you want to get out of it and why. And if you want to try Prolon, I do have a link that will give you a discount. And let me know how it goes for you. Either way, I knew for me that some type of clean eating protocol was going to be happening and will always be happening for me every 3 or 6 months, because I've experienced the benefits of how each reset changes my diet, my lifestyle, as well as my body. And everyone is a little bit different, but the best way of knowing things is trying them and just seeing how your body reacts. And so for me, I needed it. It was time. And so I did it. And I know that physical health and wellness will continue to be a top priority for me, and always has been. And even though a program like this can feel a bit extreme, I also want to feel extremely good. And so one of the quotes that I loved during those 5 days, and it was shared by the Prolon team, who are very helpful. So if you have any questions, reach out to them, because I remember I tagged them on Instagram at one point when I was feeling kind of hungry on day 3 and saying, hey, I'm feeling like today's a challenging day, but I'm really committed to the results, and I'm hungry and I'm feeling it. And they actually said, hey, have you tried having some carbonated water, some, sparkling water? that would help or that could help. And I hadn't done that. So FYI, if you want to give that a try, either way, reach out to their team who can help with lots of these questions. They're pretty responsive. And so the quote that they sent out is this: if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. So just let that sink in and let that be a reminder when you're looking to up your nutrition game and you know it's going to be challenging to do so, that it's just a confirmation. If it's challenging, it's just a confirmation that change is on the other side. Best of luck if you're going into anything like this. And I'm wishing you a very healthy week ahead. So if you want help designing your life and tapping into that next level of you, including your nutrition, you'll want to join my free Design Your Day workshop. You can RSVP now to get a spot, and I will share with you the strategies and tools that I use daily to shift my mindset, change careers, and improve my health. And together we're going to start the process of designing a magical life. So you can go to mayemson.com/design your day to sign up. And I'm also opening enrollment into the Intuitive Leadership Coaching Group Experience, where you will have months of focus, accountability, and consistent support to heal together, to grow together, and to expand together. And we'll take your goal and we'll do it the intuitive leader way, with spirituality, achievement, earth energy, and harmony all aligned and taken into account. So if you feel that this resonates, this is my sacred invitation for you to check it out. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at mayemson.com or support@mayemson.com. Or you can check it out at mayemson.com/intuitive leadership. So that's it for this week. Wishing you all, again, a very healthy week. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.